Okay, so today I want to introduce you to step 6 of budgeting your best life. And step 6 is the savings tracker. Now, there's actually two parts to this because I call it the savings tracker, but I also have an additional page for savings pots. And it's the savings pots bit I want to talk about first because there's likely to be certain types of expenses that you're going to incur naturally through the year that really you ought to be putting money aside for. So I'm giving you an example in this case as car maintenance. Now, if you've got a car, you'll know that things don't always happen when you expect them to. So you know you're going to have an MOT once a year. You know you're going to have to service the car at least once a year, sometimes more, depending on how much you're driving. But you'll have a rough idea of how much your car is going to cost you in order to keep it on the road. The best way to find out this information is just to look back over a year's worth of bank statements and just see what it's cost you over the past year. I did that exercise myself, and we've got a couple of cars, so I needed to work out how much to put aside to keep both of them on the road. And I decided that the amount I felt comfortable with was putting aside £200 a month. So I put that into a savings account, and I set up a standing order every month, and that much goes across into the savings account, and it just sits there until I need it. It's really useful to have it because we've had occasions where we've had unexpected maintenance costs and I've had to dip into that. So it's there to be used, but it's there to be like a safety blanket, if you like. So car maintenance is one of my savings pots. I also have a holiday fund savings pot as well. And that's because, we don't have excessive holidays, but I always like to put a bit aside every month. So I put £150 a month aside. I mean, obviously I will use it at some point, and usually what happens is you end up paying quite sort of hefty deposits. So it's nice to have that in the account ready for when you need it. And then finally, I've also put a Christmas fund down, and I've been really bad at this over the past few years. I always tend to leave it till the last minute, and I always panic thinking, oh, all this money going out and I haven't got anything aside. So I tried really hard this year, but because I had other savings goals which took precedence, I haven't saved as much as I would have liked. So this year coming, in 2021, I want to be putting aside £100 a month, and that'll give me a nice safety blanket for next Christmas. So that's what I intend to do. I haven't been very successful this year. I've probably done about half of it. And you'll notice in the Facebook group, I set up a savings challenge a few weeks ago to attempt to put £500 aside. I'm sticking to it. It proves to be difficult sometimes, but if you've got a challenge that you set yourself, it often helps. So this coming year, I'm going to put aside £100 a month. So I've got those three savings pots there as real life examples. This year just gone, I had another real life example where we were putting money aside to save up for a replacement car. But I won't have that next year. So these are the ones that are important to me to put aside. You may have others, different ones. You might be saving up for a wedding, let's say, or saving up for a house deposit or something like that. And those are the sort of things that you want to be putting here. These are monthly amounts that you want to put aside for future expenses. Now, in America, they call these sinking funds, but I always think that's a bit of a negative connotation, so I like to call them savings pots. So I know that every month this amount of money is going to come out of my account. Now, the other thing, I mentioned savings trackers. I'm going to twizzle this round and put the savings tracker side by side. So this is the other page that's included in the budget planner on a monthly basis. So you'll have your savings pots every month, but you'll also have your savings tracker. And what this does is obviously you have your savings pots, you've got to have an account to put that money into. So you'll find a savings account. I've got two accounts that I currently use, a Marcus account and a Ford Money account. I've had these for a good couple of years now, and they were much better rates of interest. So I've got a column, I've deliberately included a column to show the interest rates, because for me it's important to know that I'm actually getting some interest. I mean, these are really poor interest rates. They were a lot better. I mean, Marcus was up at 1.5 when I first opened it, and Ford Money, well, it's certainly over 1%. I can't remember the exact figure. I think it's 1.35 or something. But it was a lot higher than that. And they seem to have settled at the moment around that amount. I don't even know if you can open these accounts anymore, sadly. But I used financial magazines to check where the best places were. Even Martin Lewis's Money Saving Expert website, they always have useful information, and they tell you about these accounts. So if you go onto Money Saving Expert .co.uk, I think it is, or it might be com, can't remember now, but you'll get it as soon as you type Money Saving Expert into Google. It'll come up, and they show you what the best rates of interest are. And the important thing to remember for savings pots is you need to have easy access. So you don't want to be locking your money away for things like car maintenance and holidays. You need to have easy access for those funds. So I tend to find the best rate I possibly can, which at the moment, as I say, is this 0.7, 0.75, and I keep it in there. Now I've just given you some fictional values here. So I've put 2,000 as an opening balance here and 3,000 as an opening balance in that one. And then these amounts here are the savings pot amounts. So for the car maintenance, I was going to save £200. So I'm putting that into the Marcus account. And then I'm not intending to withdraw anything at the moment. So a closing balance would be around about 2,200. And I've added a couple of pounds for interest. I might be being a bit optimistic there, to be honest. But that's just a figure that I've popped in. Ford Money, again, opening balance there. And then the other two funds, the holiday fund and the Christmas fund, I'm going to be putting aside £250 a month for those. So I've given a fictional closing balance of 3,253. So at the end of that month, I'm hoping to have £5,455 in there. Now, the purpose of this tracker is really just to keep an eye on where my money is. So if something happened to you, for example, you'd be able to, your partner would be able to look at this and see what bank accounts you've got, how much you've got in each, how much you've got. But for your benefit, you're going to use this twofold. You're going to use it to keep an eye on where your money is and how much you've got, but also you're going to keep a track on these interest rates. Because if these absolutely nosedive next month, and it's possible that they could, if they drop to something like 0.1, I would pull that money out and I would find somewhere else to put it. There's always somewhere else you can put things, and during the year I have moved money about all over the place and closed accounts simply because they'll go overnight to nothing. They tend to tell you, send you a letter and tell you that on the certain, March the 31st, they're going to drop the interest rate to whatever it is. So you do have time to look about and find an alternative. But that's why I developed this savings tracker, to keep a track on where my money is and the interest rate that I'm getting. And for me, that was an important addition to include that. Finally, in the budget planner, as well as these 2 pages that you'll see every month, at the back of the budget planner, I'm just going to move these out of the way and replace it with savings plan. So I mentioned that in the past, you might have, for example, in this case, a car savings plan. So if you've got a big item that you want to save for, it could be a wedding, it could be a house deposit, whatever, car, whatever. It's a good idea to have a plan and work out how much you can save, how much you need to save. So you might know that you need to save a certain amount by the end of a certain period. So in this case, I've just given you an example. What am I saving for? And I've said a car. How much will it cost me? I've put a figure of £16,000. How much can I afford to save each month? I've decided that because I want to get this car, I'm going to save £500 a month. So if I want to save £500 a month, and the car's going to cost me 16,000. I've divided 16,000 by 500, and I've worked out it's going to take me 32 months. Now that's not assuming that there's any interest payable, because quite frankly at the moment the interest rate is so rubbish that you're not likely to get much anyway. So I'm ignoring interest in this example, and I'm saying, okay, if I put money into a bank account, it's going to take me 32 months. If I put £500 a month, it's going to take me 32 months. And I've worked out what my closing balance is going to be at the end of every month. Now, really, this is I only do a 12-month plan because the budget planner is for a 12-month period. So I get a new one every year and I roll everything forward. So the following year, I would take the closing balance of year one, which is going to be £6,000. I'd hope to have that much in my fund. And then next year, I'd hope to start my opening balance at 6,000 and keep paying in 500. Or if 500 was too much, then I maybe have to lower that amount and extend the time that it's going to take me. So it's a very flexible plan. It's just giving you an idea as to how much you can afford to put aside, how much you need, and what you're likely to have at the end of the first year. So it is just a plan. It's not set in stone, but it's something to just give you a bit of guidance on. Now, this is step 6 of the budget your best life. So step 6 includes the savings tracker, the savings pots we've mentioned, and also the ability to create a savings plan. And you'll find the savings plans at the back of the planner, and they're next to the debt payoff plan that we mentioned earlier in step 5. Okay, so that is step 6 of budgeting your best life.